if they can reproduce themselves within your body, that's
Yeah.
yeah. Great. Don't me anymore.
Okay, shall we get started? If anyone joins, join late. Cool. We can call the meeting to order at 9:02 a.m. Anyone want to approve the agenda?
Roll call first.
Oh, sorry, roll call.
Cynthia McCoy. Anastasia Keitlinger.
Callie McDermott,
Lorena Stockholm.
Stephanie Ferguson.
Sarah Wick.
Joe McDonald, Town Treasurer.
Carrie Crandall.
Thank you. Now we can do the agenda.
I move to approve the minutes. No, agenda, sorry.
I second.
The consent.
Okay.
Now the minutes. Oh, all in favor?
I,
Thank you.
I move to approve the minutes.
I second.
All in favor?
I.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. So
People are looking to come.
hopefully Sarah can pull up this picture that she has. Goranson sculpture. This is not the one, is this the one that's in front of the bank or the other one?
No, it's the one at Goranson Park that just got replaced.
Okay.
Remember you and I thought we could talk about flip flopping those or whatever, like, cause we talked about the Ojo Agave at the bank is on lease and he's gonna come pick it up at some point. But then we also have the one at Goranson, that we discussed that, it just got redone, but we weren't like super duper crazy about it.
Yeah.
So, John Henley has one, and that was the screenshot that I attached that nobody could see. It's basically this one.
Yeah.
Right here. Potentially purchasing that. It's a little bit brighter,
Yeah, I really like his colorful stuff.
bigger.
I love his work.
Mhm.
Big fan.
I mean, I don't necessarily love the place at the bank for a sculpture, just because I feel like it's kind of in the
You-
weeds.
Yeah, and you have to be a
Um,
member of the bank. Like if you don't bank there, then you probably don't see it very
Well,
frequently.
it's definitely right
on
on
the
the corner.
forehead.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
but there's already the stump for, or cement stump for a sculpture, right?
Right, there's it's already got its base,
Yeah.
kind of created.
Yeah,
So the thought would be putting this orange one at Goranson.
Mhm.
And then taking that feather and putting it over at the bank.
Sure. I think they're both the same height.
Yeah, I
We'd
think
have
that
to-
orange, but this
yeah.
orange is pretty tall.
It does.
Mhm.
It means readjusting holds in both of them, whatever it would happen to be.
yeah. I really like that.
If you're just mounting it on the one sculpture that one's coming off of, that's only adjusting holes for one thing, but if you're moving both, it'll probably have to be adjusted for both statues, but that's become a little bit more efficient now that we've been doing this for a while. So whatever, it should be easy enough to do either way, if that's what you'd like to do.
So would we just lease this one for now and then decide later, or what was his?
I asked him what the price on this was, and he said 4,800.
It does resemble the Cloudbusters circle tower kind of thing that's over.
Yeah.
At the other place.
I think it's.
Is that in the budget?
We have, yeah, a sculpture budget.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I just don't remember if it was like, we're back in the time where we're not using it for a fire and ice, right? Or whatever it was that we,
We used a couple of years budget for
Yeah.
sculptures to go into one large sculpture.
that's right. I was like, there was, like, yeah,
That are in the park.
Yeah.
There is the discussion going on about using some of that budget as a possibility to correct some of these ski chairs that we've got,
Mhm.
that are after 4 or 5 years are starting to
need
really
some
need
love.
some maintenance. Not every single one of them, but most of them, need, which is what I'm doing right now. But
Cool. Yeah, I vote to move forward with getting that cool orange sculpture.
Right, and then he'll pick up that other one, the agave one.
I
I
second.
think the thought is that, we just kind of need more color.
Mhm.
And this will definitely stand out.
Yeah.
Orange. It comes in other color. I mean, he can basically do it in any color.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, definitely
Huge.
seeing red and blue in his sculptures.
Yeah.
But he said a
um,
lot of people do red. You'll see that a lot.
What-
An orange kind of stands out.
Can he match the orange in our Fraser logo?
It would be pretty similar. I
Yeah.
think it's limited to the
Sure.
company that he uses for the
Okay.
finish on the metal.
Cool. Yeah. If we got one that was similar to that, I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I like it.
It does seem that we sort of sub-optimize the marketing, the promotion of our sculptures. We spent two and a quarter years budget for the one out there and didn't have a dedication, we announced it, but I would think we could do more and have better benefit. As you know, especially when we're spending $4,000 or $5,000 on something, and it's not a criticism. It's just something I think we just need to build into the system.
But you're talking about buying this one or just leasing it?
Nice me.
And it will help, by the way, when we have that bike park out there.
Yes.
Because we could, you know, even on the map of that area, we could indicate the sculptures and, you know, when mom and dad are waiting for Junior to get done riding their bike.
Meet
They can
me at
walk
the,
around.
Yep.
yeah.
And there has been talk of incorporating a piece into the park as
Yep.
well.
Mhm.
As a permanent purchase, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah, it would be cool if there's some sort of space for a mural too,
Mhm.
because that would be a really fun mural.
They've
Mhm.
been talking about that, depending on the features.
Yeah.
You know, so
Great.
they would like to have those painted. It's-
But you want this permanently mounted at Goranson?
Yes,
Okay.
if we decide to move forward with the purchase.
I need the dimensions of the base.
I like Anastasia's idea about having colors that match the new logo for
Mhm.
free.
Again, it's limited. to
Yeah.
what it Uses, it's probably not gonna be exact, but
Yeah.
yeah.
But that's pretty similar. I mean, it's like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
maybe
it's
orange.
cool to
Orange.
tie it in.
Mhm.
If we have the option, why not? You know,
Yeah.
but it looks like we do. And yeah, that looks like the yellow. Because it's like yellow and there's an orange in the
Mhm.
logo.
Mhm.
See the
Yeah, I
flavor.
thought it would be kind of cool to have him do some kind of median sculpture with like the big circles that he's got, and maybe that could move towards the Fraser colors.
Yeah.
But I feel like the
For
the
the,
circles that like the side of the Midtown Cafe has some, be pretty cool in the median.
yeah. Yeah. I like the idea of circles too, because then you can see through it. Traffic safety.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, I really like that. Yeah.
I mean,
Cool.
and the medians down 40 that have to go through state.
Yeah, or even just the one that's right on Eisenhower would be kind of cool. I
Yeah,
mean, it doesn't have to be anything huge, but
that we have a little more control over.
Yeah. that was just a thought I had
Asking
driving
that.
through, yeah. So
Look at that.
in the future,
I should write it down.
yeah, maybe when we have the crossover
I
that
was
will go from Clayton Court over.
just gonna say, when we get into, if we're able to do the signage between the town and Fraser Valley Arts and that sort of thing,
Mhm.
and whether it's over the road or if it's in a median traffic circle, which is a possibility.
Yeah.
What we could do is put out the call for entry
Mhm.
and try and do it artistically.
Yep,
Mm.
yep. Very cool.
Okay, so I'll get a hold of John and we'll move forward with that. I can't remember what he said it took for fabrication of one of those. I think it's like a few weeks.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I think that's a good spot for it to be nice and bright.
Yeah.
I do like the feather. I'm glad they attempted to fix it and that we're gonna keep it for a little bit.
Yeah, I
longer.
suppose you
Yeah.
could probably show the picture if you wanted to screen share that one.
We just didn't know it was gonna be wood, I think.
Yeah, I went back and looked at it and it did say vinyl wrap.
Mm. Oh,
So-
yeah.
Yeah, you have. Yeah, that's the one.
Get on and screen share.
I know that one.
Yeah, but it looks much better.
That's where catch the bus. Uptown.
Oh, there it is. Perfect.
Oh.
So that, I think this was before and that's.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Mhm.
Like
We
like
still don't
updated.
Fix it.
No, he
It's
did
there
fix
already.
it.
Oh, yeah.
I think if you go to the next one, it's
Close.
it up and fixed.
Huh?
The next photo is it up and fixed.
Yeah, that looks great.
So definitely brighter in there. But the
Mhm.
orange one will look really cool.
Really cool. Yeah.
So this one
And
was
I'll get a look
before.
at it from my office window. I didn't know those. I mean, I knew it was called Goranson Park, but I did not. It's a slow moving brain morning.
When that gas station is Goranson
Yeah.
Station, I guess. That's where.
Okay, yeah. I just like think of it as my little park that I stare at all day when I massage. I watch everybody go to the bus stop. That's not creepy.
Cool. So if we're good on that, we can move to Mural Fest.
Shouldn't we have a vote if we're gonna spend $5,000?
I make a
Made
motion
move
to
and Anastasia second.
purchase, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm in favor.
I,
I,
All right,
there we go. All in favor.
We're so casual. We should probably
We've had
tighten
two
up the
new
reins.
members.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
do you want to announce the two new people that have now joined us?
Oh, yeah.
Kristen Hansen. Sorry, my meeting ran late from 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's okay. And Steve, you're here too?
Huh?
Here.
Do you wanna?
Steve Fitzgerald.
Oh, Steve Fitzgerald. Yeah, I didn't realize you were doing a roll call because,
That's okay.
But before you get.
no, I meant.
I've been saying that we're all just waking up from hibernation,
Yeah, no kidding.
you know?
We're thawing.
Yes, yeah. Okay, mural fest.
Yeah, so we have 21 applicants so far.
Nice.
Hopefully we get some more soon. Closes in a couple weeks on the 1st.
Well, that is substantially less than we've had at this point in the past.
Yeah.
Have you all been sending it out to all the same?
I have a social media ad running too. Maybe I'll increase that spend.
Was it announced slightly later than it normally is?
Slightly, but not a lot.
much.
Did you send info to each of the last couple years of participants and applicants?
Yes, I
Okay.
did send an email when we first opened up. This says in 2023, we opened it on March 21st.
Yeah, sometimes we didn't.
31st of May, so. It was a little bit longer.
Yeah,
I have information about the lodging. Okay, so I wrote to some people at the Vintage Hotel in Winter Park, and I communicate with this girl, Kaya. She says she's a big fan of the festival. And then she asked me for a question if it was going to be a master bill or a booking link. So a master bill is like the general money account will be charged just to Town of Fraser. Or if you wanted to give a link to every artist to pay on their own, but you are paying, right?
No, it would be a link. I don't think that the town is gonna cover anything. It was just a hope that we
Okay.
could offer some kind of discount.
Well, anyway, I told her it was going to be a master bill, but it will be around $131 to $125 per night for 2 queen beds with a kitchenette. So
That's a
I,
good price.
yeah,
That's super good.
so that is good, right?
More than.
I thought it was good. And so August 1st to the 3rd, right? And we can do all the studios, all hotel room, or a combination of the two. So that's what they say.
Yeah, I mean,
So we are going to do a link, and so like the artists had to pay it themselves. Okay.
yeah, we're not covering.
Some kind of group code.
Yeah, it was just a hope that we could get some kind of good discount.
Thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah.
That was great. That was really,
an
that's really
incredible discount.
supportive and
Yeah.
helpful.
So that's it. That's
Does
what
she have
I
a
got.
limit on the number of rooms?
Yeah, they will have, I told them like 30 rooms,
Okay.
and they have them. But they will block it for us. I don't know what is the next step. If you guys wanted to work with them or you were waiting for other budgets.
Well, I think the issue is that we're not doing, like a master payment like you told them. It's basically just a discount.
Yeah,
So I feel like they can open the rooms up and if they're available, then the artists can have them.
yeah.
I mean, I feel like as soon as we decide who the artists are, then like let them know that if they want this discount, they'll probably have to book as soon as possible. Because it would be limited to
30 rooms or whatever.
the
Or,
rooms that they
yeah,
have available.
or a time frame if she's only opening
Block
it
rate
from
through
June to
July
July.
15th or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah,
And we could, one of the things to tell them is we can include the information on the discount in our acceptance email and say, you have this period of time to book,
Yeah.
after which the rooms will be released. That's fairly typical in the hotel business. They won't hold it forever, but they will hold it for a window.
Yeah, so if you can ask what the window would be and the link,
And Callie, the call closes what day?
I believe this one is the first
Did
as
you send me
well. Let me
first?
triple
Yeah.
check.
That's important for her to know.
The first
Of May,
of May.
yeah.
Yep.
And so,
The 1st of May, you send the acceptance letter.
No,
No.
it'll probably be May 15th around, so.
Okay.
If we're talking about lodging, I'll also add, I've reached out to Gravity House. They went through a lot of managerial changes, but I did speak to them just loosely, and they said that they would honor my my discount that I get there for being a member, but their rooms for that weekend run from $250 to $310 a night, and they would get anywhere from 25 to 50% off. They do not have 30 rooms to have, but if we want that as another option, I'll get those details locked down and we can include it as a link, unless you just want to put everyone at the Vintage. I'm cool with whatever you guys decide.
I mean, if they're willing, I feel like options are good.
Buses go to both places.
Mhm.
Gravity House is closer. Buses
Yeah, I
go.
mean, obviously it's more expensive, but somebody might prefer to be there.
Yeah, just for like where it's located. Yeah.
When fair and equity.
Yeah, and
everyone
I
stay
think-
at the same place.
I think it's nice for us to be like, here, we got you options, you know, too. So
Yeah. And if it's 50% off, it's 125 a night, which is
Yeah.
great.
that's good.
But they couldn't really answer because they fired their manager left and blah blah blah. But I'll get the information
Thank
if you think that's something we want. Okay.
Back to the applications, I do think we should try to advertise a little bit more so that we do get more. I will send out another email to our past applicants.
And the timing's great because usually the majority of them come in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
mhm,
So just a reminder.
yeah.
Mhm.
So maybe we'll end up with 100. Who knows?
I mean, we have had
I think what was
70.
Yeah, we've typically been 70 to 80.
yeah.
Okay. Joe and I on Monday looked at Camber's wall. He's all set to, I think you're all set to get it all prepped and ready for.
We have an understanding of the process, but how much it's going to cost is still up in the air, depending on what equipment I can use and what equipment I can't use, and that's still slightly in flux. So it could run to be, as little as 300, $400, $500 to prep the wall, or it could be a bit more, quite a bit more. But I need to, now that we've got it nailed down and I can deal with specifics, I need to kind of look at that in a slightly different way, which I'll be doing over the next week. We'd like to have it prepped and ready by the end of May. Is what the agreement that we were coming up with him. But it's a fairly big process to prep an old building like that, to get it ready for, a multi-$1,000 kind of mural that's going on it. He's doing the structural stuff. We're just kind of, the town is trying to cover, or we're trying to cover the cost of some of the other things. And it's always more complicated than when you look at it just in broad strokes, if you know what I mean. Just getting stuff in. His patio is only like 3 to 4 inches wide. The thing that I was anticipating getting in there and getting close with might be too heavy for that kind of thing. So we might have to rent a couple of pieces of equipment. And there are a number of stages. It's like a 2 or 3 step stage. It's going to take about 2 to 3 weeks a day, not every day for 2 or 3 weeks, but it takes a day to do this, and then a week later a day to do this, and then a week later a day to do that. And so it's in very much fluctuation right now, but it's certainly possible to do. he's on board. I texted him that information on who to fix and patch his windows that, he wants to kind of have taken off the thing. The only big difference is he expressed the desire to have animals. But I told him he gets input into what the final design is anyway. And he wants it to wrap around the corner and go to his back patio. So he wants it from the wall in front to wrap around to a small wall that's on the back that faces the food truck that's going to be built there now. So that won't be as seen by the public as much, but if it is a wraparound, much as we did with the Vicious Cycle, which we did about the same thing, that was a little more visual, but this will just kind of create a little more ambiance for the downtown kind of area. And
Yeah.
Nick is very easy to work with, so that always helps a great deal.
You definitely wanted it to say enjoy Fraser as well.
Somewhere, or a Fraser tag. He's not anxious to have another big moose though, so that he can say, come to the
Yeah.
brewery with the
Yeah.
elk, not the moose.
Yeah.
That's fair.
As he's talking to
That's
people.
fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Define our breweries by animals.
Yep. Definitely have a theme going in
Yeah.
town with animals.
I like
And-
it.
Yeah, and I certainly think that lends itself towards the idea of what this year's event is going to be, with Wild at Heart. You definitely see animals at least every,
Definitely.
on most of the murals, if not all of them.
Yeah.
But it was a very easy, easy kind of good meeting. But I'll have a little bit of work to get it ready to make it presentable. It will be completely painted over though, by the end of May. That mural will no longer exist, so that it won't be kind of this opaque feeling kind of thing. It'll be a flat canvas for the next muralist to be able to work off of.
I wonder if we, with Nick's permission, once we cover that up, if we can put up a sign that says Mural Festival
Mm.
2025, this
yeah.
will be, a new mural coming.
We
Yeah,
talked
we're
about trying
definitely
to
about-
hang a banner,
Yeah.
across it, trying to paint it with the stencil, that's
Yeah.
a little too much work, but hanging a banner across it once it's a flat color and so that it really pops out on the thing. And this will be, mural fest, the dates, and this will be the commission, that'll happen
Yeah,
kind of thing.
that's-
That's what we
that's
had in mind.
I mean, that alone is worth $5,000 worth of
Yes,
advertising.
yes. That's great.
Yeah, he was definitely open to having a banner.
Cool.
He's open to almost everything. He's a
Yeah.
really nice guy.
Yes, guy.
Yeah.
I have a question. Do we have any kind of a materials list, either the form or types of paints that people have typically used in the past for these murals that we can provide? And I bring this up because I'm in another artist group and there's been a lot of discussion about what kind of impact tariffs may have on the cost of art supplies and paints and all that. So do we have anything that we can
No.
provide to people for
No,
estimation
each artist
purposes?
has used their own medium at this
Okay.
point in time. Now I think that we can encourage them to use more durable pieces, but it's certainly been a flexible kind of thing because each artist works in, some will work in just spray, some will work in paint and spray, some will work in just paint. And so it kind of depends on the individual who wins the award, what they feel most comfortable with. But I think that we have a responsibility to try and encourage them to use something that is more durable as well, in which we have found with like the benches and with this particular mural, the surface that it was on was not prepped ahead of time. And it's only lasted, I think, 4 years, 5 years?
It's closer to 6.
I've been
Might
here,
be 6.
yeah. I'm at my 6th anniversary and it came in after I was here. So it's 5.5, but the surface area was not prepped ahead of time and that made a huge difference. But as far as medium that they work in, that's kind of been left up to whoever wins the competition at that time. But that might be a consideration in who wins that, kind of piece as well. So, but it's certainly a consideration.
Or we
I
could look
agree.
at, we give them a stipend. which
already
they
do.
can spend,
Right.
but maybe changing it next year if prices go up for materials.
Right. Okay, and is there an expect?
And folks, the tariff stuff changes by the minute.
Yeah.
So I frankly think we should just plow ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and then
Right.
is there an expectation for the longevity of the murals that people are painting?
Well,
you know, should it be expected that, when they are, because they're sold off, right, or auctioned
Well,
off?
Those murals, the individual ones.
Yes.
No, there is no expectation for that.
Okay,
You buy it with the understanding that you'll mount it. If you mount it inside, it's going to last longer than if you mount it outside. We can't,
Okay.
we have trouble getting them just to be picked up, let alone what their
Yeah.
expectation on
Got
how
it.
long they will last. would be.
Okay,
And
I
a
didn't
lot
know
of
if they
it-
were,
A lot of it depends upon how, as somebody who's had several, if you put it in a shady spot and you cover it with a urethane or something, they last for years and years and years and years. If you put it in direct sunlight and don't do anything, you'll be lucky if it's not peeling by the end of the summer.
Yeah, well, then it
Got
comes-
it.
So,
And
and we give that advice.
okay,
And there
Yeah,
was a
that's
time
definitely
when we put a sealant coat on it, but that presented problems in and of itself with people thinking that the color had changed on their thing, or that, with a really fine eye, that there were other things. But so no, we just give them the mural that they buy, and then it's up to them however they'd like to preserve it.
okay, that's useful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But with a little bit of work and good placement, they can last for years.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, one of the first ones is still hanging on a house, on Elaine's house over here, the Dunk Susie.
Yep,
Uh,
that's definitely still looking great.
yeah, yeah. But it's hanging on the north
So-
side. It's
Right.
hanging
Get
on.
out of the sun.
I know which one is it.
Yeah.
But that is also one of the reasons that we have to paint a flat plate. Because the sealant that will go onto this mural to prep it will be EV, EV can be damaged by that. So we're gonna try and take all the steps we can to make sure that this one lasts as long as it possibly can.
Amber and the distillery, I think, are aiming to be at the award ceremony. Drew Penny Smoothies was gonna come as well for hanging around town. And I don't think I have anything that we need to do at the moment. We'll get volunteer stuff going soon and
I did have one addendum item to, last year we had discussed that we have a secondary building that has a fading mural on it. That is not a very large building, but it is a building that could be offered as a secondary jury prize, or or we could just contract necessarily with one of the muralists that we really like, who maybe doesn't win anything this year. But we had talked about the possibility of trying to get the small corner building that's on the other side of the railroad tracks, right on Eisenhower and Pioneer, that is the main turnoff to go to the grade school. That small Gardner building is a town building. It has a mural on it, but it's faded significantly over the years, and it is certainly an opportunity to kind of, it was thought of as possible, but it was too late last year to kind of put it in as a secondary kind of commission. But it's something that we should just put on our radar for at the moment. It's a little offbeat to make it a major prize, like the 10,000 on the main drive or behind the school, or some, the other things we've done, but it's certainly something that could be addressed possibly by PAC. If not, then we'll address it, in another way. But
Well, similarly, with the advent of the more frequent train service, it would seem like beautification of that station building would be an important thing for us to do, and maybe we wrap the two things together.
Yeah, the one that has like the painted doors already too.
yeah, that's a private.
Yeah, it's Ron, but he's usually pretty open to things like
He
that.
has been, yeah.
Maybe I'll get a hold of him.
Yeah,
and see
I mean,
what-
most of the businesses we put
There
these
is-
things
I
on are
think there-
private.
They are allocating some money for the updating of a number of those stations as they develop
Yeah.
the process as well.
Well, and the town now has a grant system for signage and or for beautification and so forth. So while we've always historically constrained ourselves just to the PAC budget, I think there's ample opportunity because we haven't spent all of that money despite a number of applications this year. So there's other avenues.
Okay, that's why I figured I would bring it up here. There was more information than I would have,
Yeah.
but it is something that is better to try and have addressed sooner rather than later.
And Joe, is this the one next to Leaving Planet Earth?
Um,
Or
No,
Planet
across.
Earth?
It's the gardener shed, like right
Just
on.
right up.
right
Ah,
on here. It's
got it.
the elevation on it, 85, 50.
Yeah.
And a couple of flowers painted on it. It's a fairly original Fraser building.
Yeah.
But it is fading, you know, because of the EV so significantly. And the gardeners would love to see, you know, some kind of, you know, beautification done to it. But it did come up last year. That's the only reason I'm bringing it up again this year.
I feel like we could probably look at the budget and like Joe said, like, while we have a muralist here, for Mural Fest, say, ask if they can stay, you know, pick out one of our favorites and.
Yep.
Even if they don't win something, this might give a chance for them to, you know, because we all know that some of our favorites don't
Don't
win.
win.
You know, it has historically not won.
Ridiculous.
So
I want
But-
my favorites to win.
having PAC input into it just keeps a consistency of vision.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that idea of, you know, seeing if somebody wants to stay on. I think that's really smart. Yeah. I love that building. I think it's so cute. I was literally admiring it when I was driving in today. I was like,
Someone told me it was the first library in town.
I've heard.
Really?
oh,
That's
wow.
library.
It is no longer that nice inside, but the outside could be.
Cannot
made
store
to
books
look
in there.
pretty nice.
Yeah.
I'm sure there wasn't any. books
Yeah.
in there,
But for next year, I really think that the train station would be
Yes.
a useful thing to do. And there's
That building.
there's a rich history here of railroads.
Oh, good, yes, yeah. That's who Doc Susie used to administer to as much as
Yep.
anybody up here.
Let's get back to it.
But I think she should look more like, what was her name from Pioneer Medicine Woman?
Dr. Quinn.
Dr. Quinn. They
How
can
could
look
you
more like
forget
Dr.
that
Quinn than
name?
Dr. Susie if you're gonna pick somebody.
Hollywood.
Bond girl.
Joe and I also talked about the ski chairs and we've been doing that for a couple of years, so I think that we should make a choice and do that this fall.
Mhm.
And we can kind of advertise for that during the Mural Fest, but if September is a good month to move forward.
It gives me enough time to prep them. That's the problem that happened with them the first time is they just weren't prepped. They were just painted and thrown out there. So no matter what medium you used, you know, some of them held really, really well and others have just completely fallen apart. But prioritizing, you know, 5, 6, not every single one of them needs to be addressed really, really soon, but the majority of them do.
Well, and we did mention that maybe even doing that small building could be at the same time as everyone's doing the ski chairs. too.
Right.
So.
It'll be
Um,
dependent on
Fall.
yours.
Yeah.
So what's the strategy for that then?
They must be painted, almost all of them must be painted in place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because of the way that they are mounted. And there's one that's one that probably needs to be disposed of, and we have a backup to go into that place that's already prepped and ready to kind of go. But that is in flux as well, because the town may actually build, because the mayor lives close to that bus stop. The town may be building something.
Mayor
Or
benefits.
the bus, hopefully the bus company, because that's a private enterprise, may be building a more permanent, much like Goranson Park's
Yes.
bus stop.
Love that one.
Might be something similar going into that corner on Old Vic Drive and I think it's Elk Ranch Road. That's right over, you know, on the other side.
Cool.
Good,
if John had
But to
that.
cop back to something you were saying earlier, if you are thinking about median kind of thing, for a sculpture, one of the places that we would have more control over as opposed to the median in town, and also gets a lot of visibility now because of the way traffic is routed, is the large roundabout that is over by, that is over in Clarksville, kind of close to the Winter Park area. All kinds of buses go around it. A huge amount of people coming out of Winter Park go right around that. And it is the town of Fraser. You know, we control the streets there, and it's a large median that doesn't, you know, that wouldn't have to be, you wouldn't have to worry about encroaching on, you know, lanes and those kind of things. Because as we talked about banners and down the medians, as Sarah and I were looking the other day, you know, we have to be very careful, and there's state regulations have to be 15 feet high. They can't go out into the, you know, there's a lot of things to consider, but that is a place that would showcase really strongly, and lots of development, lots of people, the hospital now, all of that stuff. But it has a lot of clearance around it, so it'd be a relatively safe place to put something as well. And since it's a good idea, but it's a little easier for us to control that one.
And Joe, you were getting a list of all of the locations of the chairs and like which ones are priority, so we'll start working on that and putting
Yeah.
that out.
I was gonna send it to Callie and we can make a decision on which ones and then send them on from there.
How did you do it before when you got artists?
Yeah.
I feel like that was before my time.
It was a little bit, slightly before my time too. I feel like the PAC just kind of picked artists, like local people that
Right.
submitted applications.
It was generally all locals. There was a call for entry. I think it was $150 to $250 per chair was the stipend. You brought your own materials kind of thing. And then they chose with the artists that they wanted to have kind of do that, you know, from the specific kind of places. At that time, though, I think most of them were mobile. So they came behind the shop and painted most of them, and then they were out and kind of
Yeah, I remember them getting painted.
planted from there. But I think it was a stipend of like a 150 to 250, something like that per chair that the
250
artist made.
sticks out in my mind as
Yeah.
what it was.
Yeah. And so, but since they've been mounted, like I said, in most cases, it's very, very difficult to move them. So they're easier to paint them in place at this point in time.
So an idea is, when we do the mural festival, we'll have 30 artists here. We go around and, you know, if somebody's from Florida, they're not gonna come back and do this,
Right.
but the majority of them are Coloradans.
Yeah.
And so we could try and sign them up and tell them, you know, we're gonna pay X number of dollars. If you come up for a weekend, you could do 3 chairs. And then we could have our, majority of our chairs lined up with an artist.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
That
one
sounds
that's
good.
dilapidated, is there a way to restore it? Is it the chair
We have a
material?
replacement for it.
Okay,
I have
but
to
I
repl-
hate to get rid of the one.
It's, we have to evaluate the amount of time it would take to do it as opposed to the amount of you know, what we could actually get out of it. But it will be looked at to try and do that to
One
start
that
with.
maybe turn around and sell it or
But
auction it
no,
off.
we'll save it for a backup for others, because the way we have to plow, you know, there will be others that will be destroyed, you know, over time. So having a backup is not a bad idea, but there's a lot of dismantling, and then you have to get giant presses to try and bend out. There's a lot to it that doesn't appear right on the surface. As I say, every job is easy till you do it.
Yeah, and there's eventually gonna be a bus stop on Clayton Court. So it'd be great if we have a couple in reserve
Yeah.
to save one for that.
We've got one right now, but again, like I said, it may not be replacing the one that's beat up, because they might do
Yeah.
an expanded kind of version. I also thought that Clayton Court, they might actually do it.
Yeah, that's true. We could do it nicer. Yeah.
Like the
Like the
Goransons. The
Goranson one.
Goranson's brilliant. I
Yeah,
mean,
that is
Goranson's
fantastic.
a really smart piece.
Yep. And it's so subtle. Until
It
you're
is.
right there, you don't get that
Yeah.
it's all like
It is.
canes.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Which is why I loved it when the globe was up
Oh,
there,
yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's made of the same material, but in a very different application.
That wasn't part of the sculpture program for the bus stop?
No,
No.
I think that I don't know where that came from, but it was not associated with PAC at all. The artist was hired, and it grew through a 2-stage period, I believe, as well, under the design.
Yeah, I was able to find a Sky High article on it years ago when
Yeah.
I was trying to find the lineage.
yeah.
But it was pretty far back.
Who did that? Yeah.
So back to the Mural Fest artists. You're gonna send the reminder to past participants and applicants. You've got a thing going out on socials.
I just bumped up the ad spend. I doubled it basically, so
Okay.
hopefully that'll reach more people. And I'm just gonna post about it more.
And I think we should just say, Eric Vandernull, you want to come back and do a mural? Knock yourself out.
And call for entry deadline is May 1st, you said?
May 1st, yep.
And then we meet on May 8th. Do we want to go in and vote if needed by the 7th? Is that the
Definitely.
Timeline?
Yeah, I'll try to
Cool.
send it out on the 2nd. And then you'll have those few days. to
And
vote for all that.
who amongst us have yet to do that process, the reviewing the applicants? You want to just describe what we do?
Yeah, I'll send you your own like login code to get into Cafe, but it'll essentially just have every artist and all of their photos you can look through on a slideshow, and then at the end of the slideshow, it gives you a 1 through 7 vote. We have previously tried to reserve the 7s for, you know, top favorites and stuff like that. But then when we all come together, every artist will have an average number of our votes, and that's what we'll go through to choose.
And what
To
we
make-
typically do is there will be a cluster that everybody loved
Mhm.
and they're pretty much in. And there'll be a cluster that nobody loved and they're pretty much out. We spend most of our time in the discussion on the middle.
Mhm.
Okay.
It will take you, if we have 60, 70 applicants, it will take you a couple of hours to look through that. So just plan then sometime between the 2nd and the 6th, spending a few hours on your computer. You can do a portion of it, save it.
Yep.
You do have to save after entering each score. The little button is right there next to it. And it's fun. You know,
It
and you get it in, and then we'll come in and discuss the ones that are in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a space for comments too. If
And there's always a couple of reserves because some people
Yeah.
won't be able to make the time frame,
yeah,
even if they are chosen.
yeah, we've had a few drop out even closer to the date, so we definitely have a wait
We've
list.
had a few drop out after the first day of painting.
That one was bizarre.
That's happened?
You guys came, started as painting,
And then
disappeared.
Yep.
Without
Isn't
saying
saying
anything to
anything.
anybody.
I did email him afterwards and
Sounds
ask if
hot shot.
everything was okay. He said he had some health issues, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which does happen.
Well, I'm glad he didn't go like missing. That's a plus.
No, we had one year that I was actually
Abducted.
calling the hospital on because
Like, are
their
you?
mural had flipped, their mural had blown down.
Oh,
And
boy.
last year we didn't have one blown down mural, which was a record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But their mural, this young woman, and then nobody knew where she was. So I was trying to find out if she'd been injured and some other things. There was a slight moment of panic. But she was fine. She just come back for a coffee.
Okay, sorry to circle back to the ski chairs, but it actually gave me an idea. I think there might be an opportunity here if we're doing ski chairs this year, maybe next year. What about painting the ugly bear-proof garbage containers around town? Putting something on those. I know they did it in my hometown years ago.
Yeah, so
And-
long as they have this, they can leave the room to say recycle and trash on either,
Yeah.
on the appropriate things. I don't think anybody would have a problem with that.
Yeah, okay.
Her first of all. But you'd have to do most of them black though.
It would be a stinky endeavor.
Maybe, but yeah, you'd have to use what, enamel paints because they're metal.
Most
so-
likely, yeah, they couldn't be prepped very much
Right.
because they do have like a rubberized kind of coating on them.
Don't hate that.
But some of them are getting into shape, that they need to be addressed for sure.
I mean, I do like that the cities have the power boxes painted.
Yeah,
I
Mhm.
don't think we have too many of those, but
no,
Mm.
there's a few, and most of them are no good anymore because most of them are old phone lines.
Ugh.
Landline.
well, then maybe they should be.
But we have plenty of garbage cans and we've got them spread all over the place and, and we know right where they are. And it's a pretty quick paint. Some of them are double, some of them are single, but it would be nice to pull them all uniform, into a sense of uniformity of being painted. And easy enough to do.
Okay.
Do you have anything else that we need to do? For you?
so,
Did you talk to that sidewalk chalk artist?
I'm meeting with him and then, Callie,
I did reach out to,
his last name's Bernal, right? Bernal.
Philip Bernal was the chalk
From-
artist and
yeah.
yeah, and I hadn't known that before.
Yeah.
So I asked him if he would be interested in coming up to do that, but I think he said his day rate is like $400 a day plus lodging.
I don't think, I feel like that's not crazy because this other guy, we'd have to like pay for his
To
transport,
come here,
flight,
yeah.
lodging and all of that too.
It sounds like we can get $125 rooms, so.
He also said that he does water-based tempera paint instead of chalk, which holds up a lot better.
Hmm.
And it eventually washes away.
And the idea here is, I think we showed some of these a few meetings ago, but the idea is in the week preceding the mural festival, we would have this artist who comes up and just does little cute figurines and funny little doodles all over town. So like there's a sidewalk crack. This guy from Ann Arbor, or Philip, would be able to incorporate that into his whimsical art, and that would give Sarah an opportunity to promote Fraser that extends people's visitation, and also as they walk from mural to mural on the days of the mural festival, they'll come across these things, and it would add to the experience without a whole lot of money.
Right.
Yeah,
Sure,
and
yeah.
I mean, if we do it the week before, I mean, obviously the paint would be better than the chalk. And
Yeah.
Philip's one of our Fraser Valley artist members, so.
Yeah, it would take one big thunderstorm to wipe out the chalk, right? Yeah. Yeah,
When's the last time you saw a 5-minute down?
yeah, right.
He does say, he does 3D pieces.
That's cool.
Oh,
I love
wow.
those.
So,
I love those.
yeah, yeah, I mean, I can check. to
One
see
of
if
those
he
and a
has-
few others.
um,
It could be an interesting little treasure hunt.
That they
Yeah.
That'll be like a
like
game.
3D, but
Yeah.
they are
Yeah.
painted in 2D. Oh, cool.
Yeah, I've seen some of those. There's some
When it's like
Incredible.
a hole,
artists
like
travel
you
around
feel like
Europe
you are
to do
falling
that.
down.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
That's cool.
And I really think it fits the spirit of the mural
Yeah.
festival too, which is why,
Little
you know, it
nice.
attracts you to it.
yeah, this was one that he had on
Whoa.
Shocktoberfest. Kind of cool.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So,
That definitely looks
It looks real.
Is
like
that
it's like
Renault?
standing
Oh, yeah,
straight up.
Yeah.
That's great. It's not
Yeah.
true, by the way. I actually, I got so sick of hearing about the boiling the frog thing. I did it. They hop right out.
You're like, I need to know.
I was living in a house in Ann Arbor where we had a bunch of frogs. I went out to the pond, I grabbed 3 of them, I put them on a little Coleman stove and, you know, a thing like that. And I was gonna turn it off if it didn't do it, but they just jumped out.
It got warm in there.
As soon as they got warm, they jumped out.
Yeah.
Like for
It's
supper,
way
is
too
that
hot.
barbecue?
Brutal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a masochist or a sadist, but I was curious.
And then
There
They
you
would-
go. Exactly.
That's so cool.
so he did say they were interactive, which is kind
That's
of
really
neat.
fun.
Yeah, you can like stand on it and look
Yeah,
at your
so
skateboarding.
that's-
Oh my God, that's cool.
That'd be
I
tons of
love
fun.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I don't know how long it takes him to do that. That's.
Put them next to,
$400.
If they're interactive too, though, like that'll be good, like social media.
Yep.
Oh,
push.
totally.
put them
100%.
next to
Yeah.
dinner.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Will you reach out to him again and like copy me in so we can?
Yeah, I can forward you this,
Okay,
or we
yeah,
can
that'd
figure
be
out
great.
what we want to respond
Right.
to him
And
with.
see how many he can do in a
One
day.
big one or
Yeah.
a number of small ones kind of
Mhm.
thing.
We want more than one, it sounds like.
But that week
Yeah.
before, one of the things is to ask him is how much prep needs to kind of happen to it. Because that week before, we're putting everything that, you know, all hands into getting the fest ready. So if he needs a lot
I
of
mean-
prep stuff, but if he can do it himself, it's fine.
Imagine,
I
yeah,
don't care.
just sweep
I
it
don't care.
around and-
But it is something to consider in that week leading up to.
Maybe around the town park, because then it could be through the summer for the concerts. And that's where our awards park is,
Over
the
here.
sidewalk.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure how.
We have a
long it
lot of
lasts.
concrete at Mural Park though, which would be really
Yeah, that would be really cool.
opportune place to do it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And on the sidewalk to the east side where you walk up towards the HTA building.
Yeah.
Because that's that sort of long stretch where we don't have a lot of murals. So if there's something halfway there, that would enliven the experience.
Yeah, and then like in front of Simple Coffee and Birdie Lounge with that.
And I mean, where we had the info tent last year on that corner would be great. Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of spots.
In Goranson, if that's where you're gonna put the information to this year,
Great.
the
Yeah.
sidewalk, you know, there's
Yeah.
a big sidewalk to the.
Well, let's see first if we can do it and then
Yeah,
pick
Okay.
spots.
cool. Well, I'll get back to him.
Anything else for the greater good?
Not super important or have anything to do with us, but I think Rebecca is gonna try to do the fab market that Sunday. So in my email, when we accept artists, I'm gonna encourage them to
Bring this up.
stick around. Yeah, but they will have to fill out a business license, which is $20 through the town. So.
Okay.
Um,
Can they, that has to be done way in advance. It can't be like a, no, I shouldn't say way in advance, but like, we couldn't be like, hey, stick around, like, on Friday and be like, here's your license, you know, like, give me
No,
20 bucks.
and I mean, I can put that all,
You do it
the
like
info in
online.
before, yeah, they just go. online.
Yeah, and I'm saying like, could you do it same day? If somebody last minute decided?
Get approval for it? No, probably not. 'Cause there's
Makes
insurance and there's a
Yeah,
number
no,
of things
I
to
mean,
figure into.
we have like
Lawyers
30
rules
days
a lot.
after this.
Probably would want to bring other stuff anyway.
Yeah,
So
because
it's
a
like,
lot of artists did sell, and if they're Colorado based, they probably already have a Colorado license to sell, so then they don't have to do the Fraser one. So
Okay.
it'd just be for like out of towners selling their art, but
That Sunday being the 3rd?
I believe so.
Of the
Okay, because
festival.
it was talked
the
about
festival.
doing it the same weekend as Revel in the Park, which was the next weekend.
Well, and she could do another one too. It has,
Oh.
I mean, Fab Market is her thing. I don't feel like we have anything to do with that. So if she wants to do 2 weekends in a row, I feel like that's fine.
Yeah.
She might get the same artist or different artists. So we'll definitely have to think about placing those kind of between murals and stuff, depending on how many she has, so. Yeah. Anybody have any other questions or business?
Or motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All in
Thanks,
favor?
everybody.